The next interview was my mom. And I was just like, Mom, what if I can't do it? Because she told me, you're going to come back tomorrow and you're going to do it again. And I was like, I cannot. And my mom was like, but what if you can? And it became like a huge tagline for our season. It really did start to change my mind out of this mindset of fear and can't do that. It's too hard for me. Maybe I can if I really like keep going and really push myself.
If you've been watching, you know that I take my ingredients very seriously, but there are 3 companies that I have found that I absolutely love. Check the description for discount codes. Hello everyone, welcome to our show. My name is Adrian. I was a former contestant on season 3 of The Biggest Loser, and this is Beyond the Biggest Loser, where we talk to fellow alumni contestants and we ask them about what their experience was like, what it's been like since then, what kind of long-term tools have they used, are using, if they have any information for us. So
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me.
thank you so much for coming on. You are a busy mom, just like me. It's so hard to arrange these things. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, of course. I'm excited to do it. I'm glad we can finally connect.
Well, I'm excited to share your story because we have some things in common, which we'll get into. But
Okay.
first, could you tell everyone or remind them, how did you get into a place where you would ever even want to be on the show Biggest Loser? Like, is this a lifelong struggle for you, or did it come on later in life? Like, how did you end up wanting to be on this show?
Yeah, so it has always been a lifelong struggle for me. Ever since I was a little kid, I gained weight quickly after I had like my tonsils and adenoids taken out. And I just was always like a heavier kid. I got to the age, I think I was 29 when I applied for the show. Was like, I really want a husband one day. I would like a family and children. And I just was like had all these goals and things that I wanted. And I was like, my weight is holding me back for so much. It's not just finding a partner, but it was just doing things in general that I like dreamed of doing. Like I love to be outside. And it was little things like kayaking and hiking and being outdoors and being comfortable doing more athletic things that I truly like thought I would enjoy, but just wasn't able to because I had gained so much weight. So I had always watched the show and I was like, I want to do that. And so I convinced my mom, because I was on with my mom, she was my teammate. I convinced her to try out with me.
So, before you went on the show, did you try any type of diets before?
Everything. Everything. I counted calories. I did Weight Watchers. Oh my gosh, I did like low carb. It's been so long now. I'm like, anything you can think of, I feel like I truly did. I did try working out and nothing ever worked for me at all. And so interestingly, I just was like, I don't know what else I can do, you know? So, and I think being on the show, I did learn so much more. And I did not have all the knowledge I needed, but I definitely wasn't coming from like, I have no idea how to lose weight. I never could find it in myself to continue through the journey. I would always stop when it got hard.
The thing that people always want to know is like, how in the heck did you get picked? Did you do anything special, or how did you end up on it?
I don't know. I just feel like I'm just truly myself all the time. And maybe sometimes to default, like I will just be brutally honest sometimes, or I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have shared that. Is that TMI? So I feel like I just truly shared in my videos that I made for them, like how I really felt and how I really wanted to change. I literally went everywhere filming everything. Like I couldn't even buckle the seatbelt in my car. And I filmed that. I was eating fast food all the time. I had tried to go on a hike with a friend and completely like almost had to be like rescued. It was terrible. So we went to like the bottom of the trail and I was like, this is where I must die. Like I filmed everything just being like, I guess just myself. I don't know. I don't feel like I did anything too crazy. I just was like, this is me. These are the things I want to do. And went out and actually filmed everywhere. So I don't know if that helped because I wasn't just sitting on the couch talking, but I like got out and showed them.
I'm getting to know more and more of the alumni group like this, and I honestly hear the same thing. I feel like they honestly picked some authentic people. The video that I sent in was absolute horrible quality, but it was
Yeah.
me being vulnerable and real. And I'm sure there were other people who were vulnerable and real and never got picked, but I feel like they did a really good job of picking people to inspire America
Yeah.
based on, I don't know, it was just kind of cool. But okay, so you get on the show, and What's that like? Was it what you were expecting?
No. I got on and won. I grew up watching Days of Our Lives. So Allie was our host, Allison Sweeney. And I was just like starstruck. I was like, oh my God, it's Sammy. So that was like shocking. But then, like, the first day we were there, we had to do the bike challenge on this teeny tiny little like seat, like a road bike seat. It was tiny. And I was just shocked. This is so hard. And the blisters. I mean, like, what people don't see is all the like injury and the blisters and that we continue to work through. And so it was rough. So I went from like being on the bike challenge to having blisters in areas you don't want to have blisters. And then the next day, like, straight into the gym and like with Jillian and Bob, and just being like, oh my God, like, she wanted me, I will never forget this. She wanted me on the treadmill at an incline of 3 at a speed, I think 3.5, which now I'm like, that's really not bad. But for someone as large as I had become and just very out of shape, I could not do it. And I was like, my heart is beating out of my chest. And I remember I grabbed or I called the athletic instructor over, Sandy, and I feel like, and he was like, your heart is beating very quick. And she was just like, too bad, keep going, like, go. And they've showed this so much. I fell off. I just like fell back and fell off the treadmill. I couldn't go anymore. And I told my mom, I said, I want to go home. I cannot do this. And it was like a huge thing. I was like, how do we get out of this contract? It was shocking. So it
You
was
guys still had Sandy, the taper.
yeah,
He was like the only one behind the scenes with us, other than he's the only one.
Like the lifeline. I would look at him sometimes like, oh, me, Sandy. He's like, stop looking at me. But I loved him. But yeah, it was a shocking moment of like, good God, I don't think I can do this. This thing that I wanted and like put so much into getting there to do and film and all this stuff. And then I'm like, I want to go home. I had that moment of like, and it's so crazy. It became like a big pivotal moment for myself and my mom. We sat down an interview after that day in the gym because she kicked me out. I got kicked out of the gym, Jillian, because I couldn't do it on day one. And I was just like crying outside. She came and talked to me, of course. And later the next interview was my mom and I was just like, Mom, what if I can't do it? Because she told me, you're going to come back tomorrow and you're going to do it again. And I was like, I cannot. And my mom was like, but what if you can? And it became like a huge thing, a tagline for our season for her and I was like, what if you can? And it really did start to change my mind out of this mindset of like fear and I can't do that. It's too hard for me to like, well, maybe I can if I really like keep going and really push myself. So it became like a very inspirational moment, although it was probably the hardest day, but it became a wonderful day to like feed off of for the future.
So as you're on the ranch, was every day like that, or were those days heavily filmed, or what was the day to day like? Like every day, were you like, or was there some slow?
It was like a major transformation for me. In the beginning, I was just like, oh my God, all the challenges. I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. What? I can't do that. And I wasn't competitive in that way. I never considered myself competitive. And so I was always like, oh my gosh. I was like, Mom, can you do that? Because I can't do that challenge. And so it's like, at first I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? To like slowly over the months, I was like, oh, I can do this. I can do. And then it just grew within me. And I almost feel like of course I didn't become a different person, but I feel like I just transformed into someone so different in a positive way. So it really gave me like there's like, I don't even know how to put it into words. Basically, like, I didn't believe in myself. And then all of a sudden I found how to believe in myself for the first time. So very positive experience for me. As far as the day to day, we worked out every day. We did have dark days, which was like kind of like a calmer day, and we still worked out, but we weren't, the trainers weren't there most of the time. Sometimes Bob or Jillian would come and like do a spin class with us in the gym or something like that. But most of the time we were doing the hike behind the gym, which was like up the mountain and back. So I love to do that. That was very inspirational for me too.
I think we filmed in different locations. I was at the Hummingbird Ranch Nest.
Oh, okay. I was at the Gillette.
And ours was a mansion.
Yeah,
like an equestrian mansion. But they were like, be careful when you go on the trails because you could get hit by a rattlesnake or a bobcat but we did it anyway. Did you see much wildlife?
We would hear the coyotes all the time, like just slaughtering rabbits at night. They like scream. It was like, oh my God. It was bad. Or we would be walking there was like a loop around the ranch and we would walk it at night because we were always moving, you're like always moving. And the coyotes would come and we'd see them. We'd be like, oh my God, but nothing ever too crazy. But I always was a little concerned about mountain lions up there. I was like, because I would go by myself a lot. And I was like, oh God, I hope I don't run into a mountain lion. But that also ended up being very inspirational for me because it was straight up the mountain and then across the ridge and then back down the other side. And at first it was like I could barely make it up. So I would say, I'm not going to stop walking until I get to halfway point, which was like a tree. And so the evolution of that journey for me too, just like personally, I don't think it was ever filmed, was just me at the end running up, running across and running down when I couldn't even like barely get up in the beginning. So there were little things they don't show, but it was like things like that are the evolution of like just getting healthy, getting fit, mentally in a better place. That if I could go back and do it again,
I would go right now. I mean, obviously I don't necessarily need to lose weight today because
yes.
of some of the tools in the toolbox these days, but I would do it because I think it would feel so good to hike all day in the sun
I right.
and to eat healthy and someone bring me my food. Sure, I have to cook it, but just like bring it to me, bring
Yeah,
me
go to the
all the
grocery
healthy
store.
foods and just
Yes. Wouldn't that be
hang out
lovely?
with my fellow people getting fit. And
Yes.
I would play some game too. I mean, my game was awful and traumatizing, but I would do it again. I would totally do it
Yes.
again. I
We
aspire
didn't
to be
have
on
a lot
reality
of game.
TV.
So you had a lot of gameplay on your season. I didn't. We did not have a lot of gameplay on my season for
Mine was
whatever
awful.
reason. We all just were. We had a couple of people. I don't know if I should name them, but we had a couple. We had a one team in general that was playing a lot of like water games and hydration games and stuff. Other than that, we were very just like, let's get the work done, and whoever's the lowest is out, kind of thing.
I wish that was our season. Ours was very political, and I think that personalities were put on there that would definitely not mesh well together. But I
Yeah.
can say to this day, like the specific person who hated me on my season, if she wanted to come on here, I would happily have her interview her and see how she's doing, even though we totally disagree on everything in the world.
Yeah. Right.
I would. Okay, I
Yeah.
got a question. On
Okay.
your season, did you guys have like, nowadays we have the fitness trackers. At some point
Yeah.
they introduced the body bug. Did you
Yeah.
guys have that?
We had Body Bug, yes, and I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, I
Loved
love it to this day.
it. It was a big tool
So
for me.
what
But
kind
do
of
they still
steps and
make it?
calories were you at?
Do they still make the Body Bug?
Probably not. You had to put it on your arm, and I would like get a rash, and it would fall down your
Yeah,
arm.
like link to your phone or to your
But
watch.
I loved what they started. Like, look at what
Oh,
they
totally.
started.
I am so motivated. A tool like that. That's why this is like if I miss my work, like if I don't turn this on for a workout, I'm like devastated. I'm like, it doesn't count.
I feel the same way. Mine is charging right now because we're
Yeah.
not moving, so I got to charge
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But yeah, so like, what kind of calories were you trying to burn? Did you burn, and how many steps do you remember?
Steps, I don't quite remember steps. I know that it was like 20,000 a day. Do you remember that? Was it like 20,000, I think was the goal.
What I would pay to have the book. I was writing everything in because I was on season 3. So like it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We had to count our calories in a book and write everything down and what I would pay for that book. I don't know what I did with it.
They did give us a book, but because the Body Bag had the online system, I was always at the computer. We had two computers. Of course,
You
no,
had
like,
computers?
yeah,
Okay, keep
not
going.
we had two computers. And so every time I would eat, I would go straight to the computer and log all my nutrition, everything. And of course, look at where my burn was and all that kind of stuff. I was like very consistent with it. And I do attribute like knowing on weigh-in day a pretty good idea of how much weight I was going to lose that week because of counting my calories so like consistently. I knew that and I was burning 2,800 calories actively, 2,800 calories over what I was eating. So I knew that I would lose a pound. Isn't it 28 or is it 25? I think it's 25.
35.
3,500. Oh my gosh, that's all.
I could
I'm
be
at
wrong.
now.
I don't remember.
3,500. So I would make sure that I was burning over what I was eating, 3,500. Now, this is the part I wish I had not done is I was told by my sweet trainer who I do love, Jillian Michaels, to eat 800 calories. And Dr. Huizenga, was he the doctor when you were on? Dr. Huizenga was like, please don't do that. And I was like, but I'm just going to do what she tells me to do. And he's like, I want you to eat 1,400. And I think what we started off with was 1,200 but that only lasted like a week. And then she's like, pulled me aside. I want you eating 800 calories, and I want you like doing all this stuff. I want you taking this supplement. I want you taking, what were those little packets we put in our water? I don't remember, some kind of electrolyte. So I literally, anything she told me to do, I just did it. And I was like, I will do whatever you tell me. And so I ate 800 calories throughout the whole thing. And I highly don't recommend that now. Clearly not at all sustainable for long-term success. In the moment, yes, I lost great weight because I was basically in starvation mode a lot of the times. My hair started falling out towards the end, especially. So that is one regret. That's probably my biggest regret from the show, is just undercutting my calories too much. And I think she's admitted now, she's talked about it before, that she wishes she knows more now. She knows that is not a good thing to do. So
yeah, I would love to have her on my channel someday to like talk about things, because there's some things to this day that we still disagree on, but she is coming around. Like, she really didn't like the keto diet for a long time, and now she sees maybe there's a little science there.
yeah,
Maybe that could work for some people. So
yeah,
I think she's coming around, and I'm cheering for the turnaround. I'm cheering for it.
yeah.
That's interesting. So you had Jillian. Now, Dr. Huizinga, I was an at-home contestant, and he told me 1,274 calories a day, and he told me how to do it. And then he told us to do 2 workouts a day, one in the morning and 12 hours later, one in the evening, and try to walk in between was his goal for us. I did exactly what he said at home, and I lost more weight than anybody at home and anybody on the show.
Wow.
And they were, working out all day long and injured, and they were like, "Good,"
Yeah.
And he told me when I went on the show, he said, "Keep doing this." And I got on the show and I was like, "Tell me what to do." I caved. I
Yeah.
caved, and I did what the trainers did. I never got injured or anything. It just didn't work as good for me.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah,
knows some
interesting.
science.
He knows what Dr. Heising is the best. He knows he knows a few
I'm a
things.
big fan. I'm a big fan. He
I
definitely was there to
know.
help people, and it was
Yeah.
like a nerdy, exciting science experiment for him too. But he didn't
Yes.
have a lot of say every season. It really was up to the trainers to guide people on what to do.
He
So
still
did
uses my DEXA scan. He posted it a couple years ago on his Instagram, and I'm like,
wait,
Dr.
what did
Heising,
he do?
my DEXA scan, where it shows all your muscle versus your fats, basically like the outline of your naked body, basically. I mean, he put it on his Instagram, and I was like, that looks like me. I was like, is that me? And he was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh my God, okay.
So
I
you're
love
before or
him.
you're after?
The
Oh,
before.
okay. I
Yeah,
hope it
which
was
is
a good
fine, huh?
I hope he had a good comment on it. What was it for? Just showing
Yeah,
what
it
it
was just
can look
showing,
like?
yeah, showing the change. I think it was my before and after, actually, if I remember correctly. It was like a side by side of my DEXA scan. He didn't put my name or anything, which was fine, but funny how I recognized my body. I was like, that's me. But I love him. He was super supportive then, and I don't connect with him anymore. But I will say, Jillian, as much as we don't always agree, we have a lot of things we disagree on, especially this day and age. But if I emailed her, she would always email me back. I've talked to her several times after the show has ended, just about things about gaining weight and asking her questions about past trauma and stuff. And she's always been super kind and responded and been helpful. So
I could be totally wrong, but I know that she ducked in and out of the show a few times, and she even said maybe sometimes the show made her feel uncomfortable. So to be giving up like the money that she could get sometimes because she felt like things weren't quite right, to me, that's an indication that she really does have good intent behind. I realize some people will cringe at how she talked to people and stuff like that, but like that in her mind and in our world, that is what we thought was needed to help people.
And
Like,
honestly, she was my main trainer the entire time. And I don't know, like she did yell at me and things like that. And I know people were like, "Oh, she was so terrible to you," but she really was, like, for me, I knew what she was doing. I knew she was trying to pull me out of something or trying to get me to see that I really needed to like either snap out of something or tap into some like past trauma that she was trying to pull out of me. But in the end, I think what they don't show a lot are like the heart to hearts that she stays after and is like, see, like this is what I'm trying to help you see or realize. And I mean, I love her. She helped me so much. So I don't really have anything bad to say other than I wish I hadn't eaten that low of calories, but she was my trainer throughout the whole thing. So she had my back.
that brings me to another question of she had said that she had her contestants eating these 800 calories and they didn't lose muscle. Did you lose any muscle?
I wouldn't say that I lost a ton of muscle. I didn't go through the end. Like I was pretty strong. Like I could flex my arms like this and turn. Sorry, my cat is like getting into something if you hear the bag. I could flex my arms and turn around, and I had like a ton of muscles in my back and stuff. So I don't feel like I lost a lot of muscle. Now, when she came home for my at home and before the finale and met a girl that had been training me for like a couple weeks since I had been home, she was super muscular. She pulled me aside and she was like, no, find someone different. I was like, okay. Because I think it was just, she didn't want me lifting a ton of weights because it was a game of, percentage. So she wanted me to lose, not necessarily lose muscle, but not like bulk up,
Yeah. So a lot of my audience that generally watches, just so you know, is pretty carnivore. Like they eat a lot of meat. And we are kind of wondering, or they are wondering probably, what did they have you eating? Was it just strictly calories in, calories out, or did they have you eating any meat? Did they offer any nutrition at all? What was the nutrition like?
We had a doctor, Dr. Cheryl.
Berg.
Yes, thank you, Forberg. She's super sweet. We did a little bit with her. She would come every once in a while, and like we had the book of like all the stuff, but like calorie counting and all that kind of stuff. But I think that no, they did not. Well, one, Bob was vegan then. And so he kept
Oh.
approaching me because I had been vegan in the past. And he was like, you should be vegan. And I was like, I'm not going to be vegan doing this. And he was like, you should try it while we're doing this now. And I was just like, no. So he kind of did not want me to, but like she wasn't strict on saying like, I want you to eat this much protein, which now of course is a huge focus for me now is how many grams of protein I'm eating. That's more my main focus, even than I still count my calories, but like that is my main goal of the day is making sure I eat enough protein. Then was not like we ate orange roughy. Like I could never eat orange roughy ever again in my life. We ate fish. It's like a white fish.
Oh.
So
Yeah, yeah.
orange roughy and asparagus. That's like what I ate nonstop. We didn't know. So protein wasn't a big thing. It was just really calories. She didn't want us eating a lot of fruit. But other than that, like calories in, calories out. It was not much about the protein stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. So you before we started, you said honestly there wasn't too much politicking on your season. Things that side were pretty good. I have a question. Was there any behind the scenes stuff that people might find relevant? Like, and you don't have to go into this, but I've been open about on my season, which I'm one of the first seasons, they're still working out production and stuff. And so our weeks sometimes were like really long as they were arranging the set for the challenge and arranging the weigh-in and arranging the camera crews and arranging when the trainers could come. And it's just a lot to coordinate. And so sometimes weeks were longer than 7 days. And so on my season, if you saw someone losing a ton of weight at one time, it was often because the production
It
week
was a
ended
long
up
week.
being longer. And then
Yeah.
there was the water weight too. Did any of that happen on your season?
Yes, definitely. We had longer weeks sometimes. They were pretty quick about though making sure it was. I mean, from what I can remember, I know we did have longer weeks. We did have couple more blackout days here and there, or they had to set up a challenge differently, so it took a little bit longer, stuff like that. But they were pretty quick and getting everything. Like, they're probably more efficient by season 9. By getting everything like set up quickly and moving to the next whatever production all had in store for us. So there were a couple weeks that were longer, yes, but for the most part, it was typically about the same amount of time. But what they don't say about women, this is one thing that I just really want people to know is when a woman has a week where maybe she doesn't lose as much, doesn't mean she didn't work out hard. It's probably because she's on her period and she's retaining water. So I just always wanted to be like, they would have a week where they're like, Ashley only lost 2 pounds. And I wanted to be like, yeah, because I have 8 pounds of water weight, because I'm, a woman.
Yes.
They don't know.
And, I have now been trying to catch up on people's seasons because I'm getting to know everybody. But I thought I was so great because I beat everyone, like I was telling you. I
Yeah.
was 22. I was competing with people who were 62. And I
Yeah.
saw later on they did seasons of ages. And I'm like, that's not the same. That is
Yeah.
not the same.
I was almost 30 then too. So I was much younger than I clearly am now. But yeah, I don't know. There's just things that you have to, I wish people wouldn't. I think it's a very inspirational show, but there are things like that you have to understand. When we okay, so the first weigh-in after that, like the very first weigh-in on our show, we had already been home. So I think it was like 2 weeks and I lost 20 pounds, 23 pounds, I think, or something was my very first weigh-in on the show. people are like, wow, your first week on the ranch. And I'm like, no, but we weighed in like 2 weeks ago. So they don't, sometimes they did a little bit of that, but that was really very rare that they would.
And then there's the water weight the first week.
There's water weight. Yeah. Oh, a ton of water
The
weight.
reduced inflammation.
Well, this is probably the only thing that I did that was kind of like sneaky, because I literally had no sneak in me at all on this show. They probably wish I had like a little bit more of like gameplay, but I did not. So I had talked to someone, Bernie, I think he was a couple seasons before me. He had messaged me because he saw what's going on. He's like, you need to drink a ton of water before your first weigh-in, like as much water as you can, and try to like go on a full stomach. And so we were at the hotel doing all of our stuff before filming, where they weigh you in and get your very first initial weigh in. And I drank so much water. I was like sick to my stomach. And I had to use the bathroom so bad, but I had to hold it. Was like painful because I had to wait so long to weigh. So that was the only thing I did. So I did weigh heavy, I guess, because I feel like I drank like a gallon of water before I went and weighed. So that was like my only time. And after that, I never did water weight stuff. I know a couple people on our season did. There was a time where people were, we had to go pee before the weigh-in so they could see if you're hydrated. I did not know people were doing this, because I'm telling you, I was just so blind to this kind of stuff. But some people on my season were dipping their pee cup in the toilet and getting water so that it looked hydrated. So by the very last,
so funny.
I had no idea people were doing
we
that.
didn't have that. You could totally dehydrate yourself. I know later on they put a squash to trying to play some of the wrestler games.
If it was dehydrated, we had to drink Gatorade before we could weigh in. They would make us drink and then pee again. I never had to. Because like I said, I never played water games because I just was so oblivious. But people would put toilet water in their pee to pass. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This brings me to some finale fun. Okay. So I don't know if you want to go into this, but at my finale, and I was oblivious too, I show up at the finale. I find out everyone's had a colonic. I'm like, what is a colonic? You did what? Everybody, instead of like going out to dinner and hanging out with each other, everybody was in the sauna in like a garbage bag. And they're like, you want to come in? And I'm like, that looks like I'm gonna get sick. I had like kind of thrown the towel in though, and they were like, how could you have thrown the towel in mentally? And that's just a bad place. This is not good. But they were all doing this, and one of my friends who was at the finale, the wife pulled me aside and said, I'm actually very concerned he's going to like have a stroke because he had so dehydrated himself. He was so malnourished, his muscle was gone, and she was concerned one of his organs could fail or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this was, And so later on, like past your season, they criticize Rachel for being so small. And I'm like, I was on season 3 and that was happening. Where were you? Where was the outrage when the men were doing it? Yeah. Did anybody do? Now, you made it all the way to the finale and you got second place. Did you have that stuff?
I went home and Jillian sent me her caffeine pills. So I was taking her, remember that, she used to sell them. I don't know if they probably don't even sell anymore, but she sold them in Walgreens and stuff. So she sent me some of those. She wanted me doing espresso shots while I was doing all these workouts at home.
To speed up your metabolism.
Yes. And then
Is this where the pill controversy comes in? Where people are mistaking caffeine pills for diet pills?
I don't know. Is that did that come up? Something about that?
Yeah, some people said that the trainers were forcing diet pills on them. And I'm like, that didn't happen in my season. They were giving them vitamin packets that were clearly sealed and had fish oil and
she didn't give them to me on the show. She did send them to me at home, and it's like something you can buy at Walgreens. It was just a caffeine pill, honestly. And if I didn't want to take it, she would have known if I wasn't taking it. I was in my house. She wasn't at my house. Anyway, so I took them because I clearly did anything she told me to. And then she had me do the, oh my gosh, what is it? It's like cayenne pepper, lemon.
Yeah, with that colon cleanse drink.
Yes, I did that. I think I only made it 3 days without eating. And I had never done anything like that. And I was just like, how did I do that? I don't know. But I went for the finale.
Did it feel amazing? Because that actually kind of sounds...
felt terrible.
No, it was awful.
Well, maybe if I wasn't working out like 9 hours a day, it would have been like really pushing it at the end, really hard. And so I was drinking that. I think I made it 3 or 4 days. And I arrived in LA and I was sequestered. So I didn't get to see anyone because I wasn't one of the final people. So I basically just worked out all day. I went and did Bikram yoga without eating and just drinking that. So I'm like, God, I was like in a very determined place, but did not feel good at all. Like at all. No, that's the only thing I did. And I did try to sweat. That's why I went to Bikram, was trying to just sweat as much as I could. And my husband now, he was on the same season as me. We met there. That's how we got met and got married. Yeah, he was like in the kickboxing kind of arena when he was training and stuff. So he had all those like kind of secrets, but I was just like, I'm going to bed. I'm done. It was the night before and I was like, I'm so done. And so I did not do it. So when I lost by 4 pounds, I was like, maybe I should have done that, but I'm okay with it. You know, my story is my story, and where I ended in the end is like totally fine with me. I was just, the reason I went on was to lose weight, not to win money. And I achieved that goal. So I was so happy. Even if I didn't win first, I was not devastated. I was like, dang, I'm proud of myself. I went second place and I lost more weight than any woman to ever be on The Biggest Loser. So I still hold the title. So I'm proud. And that's all I did win a little bit of money, which was great. So that was a plus. But yeah, I love the season. I have nothing but positive things to say. It like totally opened my eyes to how strong I truly am. And I learned so much, and I met my husband. And so, yeah, it was all good for me.
That's amazing. Oh, how did so I hear people say there's a couple people out there who are like, I absolutely hate the show. And somebody previously brought up a good point, which is I don't know anybody who at the finale was like, oh, this show sucks.
Yeah.
You're like looking your best, feeling your best. You did it, you made it, and you
Yeah.
got to be part of this. You got picked out of hundreds of thousands of people. Like,
Yes.
what
I
an
felt
amazing, cool thing.
lucky and proud. Yeah. I still love it.
So the show ends. Now what happens?
I felt so sad the next morning I woke up. I remember I felt like scared and like empty. I was like, "Oh my God, it's over. Now what? What do I do?" And I had like complete fear of gaining my weight back. I was like, I'm gonna, and you know what I kept telling myself? You're gonna gain your weight back. You're gonna gain it back. And we know now what you tell yourself every day happens. Like the story in your brain that you tell yourself, your body believes your brain, So I was just saying every day, oh, I'm gonna gain it back. And I did end up gaining back over many years. I kept it off for a very long time, but I did gain all of my weight back after having a baby, especially. And I'm just now beginning the process of, well, it's been a year. I've lost 113 pounds this year. Well, February will be a year. So
Wow.
better than ever again. I've kind of found myself in enjoying exercise and like craving needing to work out and not missing workouts. And that's why my hair looks like this, because I came from a workout before we did this. But yeah, I had a lot of ups and downs. I was, dealing with, you can't heal, 30 years of trauma in 7 months. And things that I didn't even know that I had trauma about ended up coming up after losing the weight. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So I think another regret was not continuing with the mental health side after the show and just being like, I'm fixed. I'm good now. And not at all. Like, I feel like weight and trauma or past issues need to be sorted out so that you can be successful long term. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. So after the show, I gained like 100 pounds like within a year. I mean, it was like really fast. My weight came back. And that's actually more than I even lost on the show. I lost like 66 pounds on the show and I gained 100 very quickly. And then I don't know about you, but I tried all the same things. I tried the counting, I tried the portioning out my food, I tried starting half marathoning, and it just wasn't working for me anymore. So I struggled for a long time. And then I ended up gaining even more weight. I got up 100 pounds higher than my start weight from The Biggest Loser. And
Oh,
then I lost that weight through running restricting, but then it started going back up again. And that's when I had gastric bypass. And then that came with a whole bag of it. And then eventually I found carnivore. And then
yeah.
that still was like up and down and up and down. And eventually I've added a GLP-1. I'm
Yeah.
wondering what kinds of things have you tried that did or didn't work, and like what's working for you now? Because 100, did you say 113 pounds?
Yes.
That is
Yes.
amazing. So to
Can
wrap
we
it up,
take,
tell us
yeah.
what tools are in your toolbox these
I am taking
days.
P1. I'm on Monjaro. So I've loved it. It has given me, it is like life saving. medication because I know what to do after the show. We were training people. We had our own business for years, and then I just slowly gained and gained. And I know how to lose, but it just every time I would try, it just wouldn't come off. So I have found that I have insulin resistance. And it has been a total game changer for me, just with like food noise. And it's literally given me the motivation to just work out every day where I was just dreading it. So it has helped me beyond measure. I love it. People are like, when are you going to get off of it? And I was like, never. If you ask me, I don't ever want to get off. Never. I have more weight to lose. I'm nowhere near my goal weight. I would say I have another 120 pounds to go. But to even be feeling like being 113 down in under a year this past year has been life changing. I feel so much happier. I feel like I'm a better mom. I'm more motivated to like move my body and be healthy for my family and myself. I'm focusing largely on protein consumption and how much protein I'm doing, about 140 to 170 grams of protein every day. Drinking water. I just feel good.
This is amazing. You should be in my Facebook group, Eat Meat, Lift Heavy GLP group, because you're doing
I
it.
would love it. And I've been doing it now 3 days a week. So I'm obsessed with lifting weights right now too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story. If you'd like to comment down below, please like, subscribe, and share, and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you, Adrian.